My name is Kevin. I'll be your MC today. I'm pleased to welcome those here in our community center and those joining us on Facebook Live and YouTube to the Kansas City Oasis. Since 2014, Oasis has been the premier secular alternative to faith-based communities, and we welcome all regardless of belief or non-belief, race, gender, sexual orientation, identity, or any other trait. We feel the human experience is better when it is shared, and we are pleased that you have chosen to share it with us this morning. Here at Oasis, we gather around our 5 core values, which are: people are more important than beliefs, reality is known through reason, human hands solve human problems, meaning comes from making a difference, and be accepting and be accepted. And you can find out more at www.kcoasis.org/our-philosophy. Today's program, our featured speaker is Duncan Payne on self and community in a post-truth age. Looking forward to that. Musical guests return Heath Church. This is great. Love watching you play up here. That's awesome. And then our community moment today will be with Peter Milano. All right. Heath Church is a singer-songwriter from the Midwest whose music is best described as dreamy indie folk. Warm acoustic guitar tracks with layered vocals and undeniably catchy lyrics, and they're all part of Heath Church's signature sound, which has been described as Midwestern heartbreak. Since he first began his journey with songwriting over a decade ago, he has released multiple EPs and singles and has played over 100 shows. Please give a big Oasis welcome back to Heath Church.
Good morning. How are we doing, guys? Happy to be back. Always love playing Oasis. I've got a new one for you today. This first song is called The Invitation. I've always believed broken hearts can see things that others can't. Painful realities, memories in my mind, play them all the time to keep the dust at bay. Fast forward, rewind, meet me down at the boulevard. I'll be waiting there with my guitar, waiting to play a song for you. And I've got a song to make you cry, another one to dry your eye. Let me play a song, let me play a song, let me play a song for you. Well, in the afternoon, the light shines in my room. It's radiant and sweet. My mind goes straight to you. And when you're down and out and low, and the blues is all you know, and you play songs on repeat, I wanna be one of those. Meet me down at the boulevard. I'll be waiting there with my guitar, waiting to play a song for you. And I've got a song to make you cry, another one to dry your eye. Let me play a song, let me play a song, Won't you let me hold you close? Won't you come and yearn with me? I'll meet you there in the melody. Can't you see that I need it too? Won't you let me play my song for you? Let me play a song for you. Let me play a song for you. Thank you all so much. I just finished recording that song in an old parking garage. The reverb in there is insane. This song is called Huge Sale. I drove past the hospital. They had a sale on loans. They'll throw in the oxygen if you buy more than one. They got a couple left, so get on down here, but don't hold your breath. I wanna live my life. Live my life for free. I wanna give all I got. Give it away for free. TV ads and billboards read me about my dreams. But if I had it my way, I would live my life for free. If I had it my way, I would live my life for free. Well, I drove past the church on the corner where they pass around the plate. Just a $20 bill to make your sins evaporate. Hey, hey, Jesus Christ, He needs you. I heard the heavenly mansion has got a mortgage too. And how the holy jet's gonna fly without holy jet fuel. I wanna live my life. Live my life for free. I wanna give all I got. Give it away for free. TV ads and billboards tell me what to do, but I don't need a new car or another pair of shoes. Well, they wrote down all the prices. They put up all the signs. They said, we can cure your sadness and ease your troubled mind. And just for easy payments of $19.99. And just for easy payments of $19.99. I wanna live my life. Live my life for free. I wanna give all I got. Give it away for free. We could feed all the hungry, paint murals on the signs. If we had the rich for dinner, we could dine and dine. I wanna live my life. Live my life for free. I wanna give all I got. Give it away
That was great. I see why you've been described as Midwestern heartbreak. That was great. That was great. Thank you. Thank you. We look forward to hearing more from you here in just a little bit. All right, there's some birthdays this week. Connie Arnold on the 22nd, Chuck Baugh on the 24th, David Avila, I see him here today. He's on the 25th. Anyone else have? Yeah, very good, very good. Anyone else have a birthday or anniversary or celebration this week? Oh,
26.
What was that?
26.
Ron will be birthdays on the 26th. I'm sorry we missed that. Also, happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there and a few of you mothers. So thank you for that. If you have something to celebrate, let us know. Need some assistance in difficult times? Let us know. Talk to someone in a yellow name tag so we can celebrate or support you. We are a community and we love to show up. All right, this is great. Kansas City Fringe, it's almost that time again. Kansas City Oasis is a host venue for the Kansas City Fringe Festival. If you haven't been, it's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome. But guess what we need? Volunteers. You can volunteer directly with the festival to work the box office table and earn free show vouchers, or volunteer to staff our Oasis concession table in the lobby. This is a huge fundraiser for Oasis, and we do need your help. For box office, go to kansascityfringe.org and follow the volunteer link. For concessions, express your interest to Sarah Geelan. All right, also, this is pretty awesome, but we're wanting that. Help us raise some funds to mount our projector from the ceiling and install a screen for better visibility of slides during our meetings. If you'd like to see the slides better, help us out. Scan this code for a dedicated link to donate through Zephy, or if Venmo, mention projector in the comment box. All right, and if you want to follow us on social media, these are the places you can find us. For more upcoming events, information on upcoming events, you can find it on the public Facebook page, the Oasis website, meetup.com, and the Oasis newsletter, or you can ask anyone with a yellow name tag. All right. Community moments are an opportunity for a member of our community to present on a topic of their choice during a Sunday gathering. For today's community moment, we will hear from Peter Milano. The three words to describe him best are hopeful, adventurous, and active. And if they had a warning label, it would be crossword puzzles are my superpower. Introducing Peter Milano.
Thanks. Oh, good morning. Well, today I want to talk about Paul Gauguin. Let's see. So I put down, he lived life on his own terms. And do you remember the song by Frank Sinatra, I Did It My Way? Well, it's the same thing with Paul Gauguin. He did it his way. Paul was born in France, but at the age of 1.5, his family moved to Peru. The reason his family moved to Peru is because his father was a journalist. And during the reign of Napoleon III, he didn't feel safe still living in France, so the family went to Peru. But on the voyage, his father passed away around Punta Arenas, Chile. So his mother continued to Peru, and the reason they went to Peru is because his mother was Peruvian. Her last name was Cristian Miscoso. So they went to Peru, and then here's one of the later ceramics that Paul did, and this is called the Moche Fox ceramic. So he was influenced by his mother because his mother collected a lot of Peruvian artifacts. Let's see. So Paul Gauguin worked in the stock exchange. And there's a picture of the stock exchange. And he was doing really well, but then there was the stock exchange crash in 1891. Oh, and then Paul Gauguin's first language was Spanish, but then when they moved back to France because the political situation in Peru changed, and so they moved back to France. And sometimes he was teased because he couldn't speak French real well at first. And so then he would always say to the bullies, I am a savage from Peru. And he would use that line throughout his life. Later on, his mother wanted him to join the Navy, but they wanted him to be an officer, but he didn't pass the exam, and he admitted later on that he didn't study for it. But he did go to the Merchant Marines. He went to the Merchant Marines, and I think that's why that was his love of the sea that instilled upon him the life of travel and the sea. And so he's living in France, and then he's doing real well. He lives in one of the finest districts in Paris, but then all of a sudden his life changes when the stock exchange crashes. So then when he was in Paris, he met Meta, that's his Danish wife, and they decided that they should go to Denmark because their finances went to zero after the stock market crashed. And so they go to Denmark, and Paul sells art supplies door to door. But the only problem with that is he didn't speak Danish. So of course, that didn't work out. So then Paul goes to Brittany, the region of France, and here he likes Brittany because the people dress in their traditional dress, and they keep their traditional customs. And this painting is called Vision of the Sermon. And there you see the women of Brittany in their traditional dress, and the priest at the bottom right hand of the corner is Paul Gauguin. And the branch that separates reality from the other side is imagination. And so you might wonder, why is there a cow in the picture? Well, the reason is the winner got a cow or any other barnyard animal. So personally, I'd rather have a flat screen TV or a life supply of rice-a-roni. Okay, so I think a lot of people know this part of the story. Paul Gauguin, Vincent van Gogh's brother, Theo, was Paul Gauguin's agent. And he said to Paul Gauguin one day, why don't you go live with my brother in LA because he's a painter too. But the only thing he forgot to mention is that Vincent had mental issues. And so they lived together in what's called the Yellow House in Arles. And so then things are going not so great because Paul Gauguin had a big ego, and he could be rude and arrogant, but he could also be friendly at times. But one day, Vincent attacks Paul with a razor, and Paul Gauguin is a big guy, so he's able to outrun him. But here's the picture of self-portrait of Vincent van Gogh with his ear bandaged. Okay, so then Paul decides he has to leave Arles, and he goes back to Paris, but then he decides to go to Panama, because the French were building the Panama Canal before the Americans. And Paul Gauguin gets sick. He gets typhoid and malaria and a lot of other tropical diseases. And so he decides, this is within the first 2 weeks of landing in Panama. And the French at that time had a provision in their constitution that a French citizen could go to any French possession or back to France if they were stranded somewhere. So Paul goes to Martinique, and there's the picture of Martinique. And just like in Brittany, he paints the villagers of the native inhabitants. Oh. Then eventually Paul goes back to Paris, and it just happens that the World's Fair is happening in 1889. And so he sees the cultures from all over the world, and one of the places he sees are the huts of Tahiti. So he decides he'd like to go to Tahiti. Okay. So this is, I put this picture in because this is one of the pictures that they have at the Nelson Atkins Museum. So, and I got into the Nelson Atkins Museum. There's another picture by Gauguin too, but I forgot which one. But I got into the Nelson Atkins Museum, and it's right at the main entrance, and I thought, wow, my favorite artist is here. I almost fainted, but I did faint when I saw how much they charge for parking there. Okay. And this is, it's called Bahine no Te Tiare. That's woman with a flower. So there are a lot of pictures of European women sitting like this in chairs or sofas, but this is one that they have of a Tahitian woman. You can tell by her facial features and the skin tone, and even to emphasize the fact, he wrote down in Tahitian above her. Okay. This is a picture of a Tahitian landscape, and it shows how much he used bright colors, and he used flat images. And if you were in art school, they probably tell you not to do that, but somehow he makes it work. Okay, so Paul Gauguin was influenced by Japanese art, and so this is a picture that shows a lot of Japanese influence. Okay, So I like this picture because I do watercolors just for a hobby, and I like how he got the folds of the woman's clothing, how he painted that, because those are hard to do. Okay, this is a picture of his first wife. It's Teamana, and you can see she's in the traditional European dress, but behind her is the ancient symbols. So there was always a clash of the modern and the ancient. And when he got to Tahiti, the capital, Papeete, he thought, wow, this is terrible because it's just as busy as Paris. Well, if you've seen a picture, there's only 5 buildings, so it really wasn't that busy. Okay. So this is a picture of his second wife. This was after he went from Tahiti, he went to the Marquesas Islands, and that's about 1,000 miles away from Tahiti. So he was smart. He didn't marry his second wife until he was 1,000 miles away from his first wife. Okay. And this is a photograph, but he did a painting of her in the same pose. And in the painting, I didn't include it, I should have. In the painting, she has dark red hair and a white dress, and the fan is the same. Okay, let's see. So now this is a picture of the sorcerer, because the Tahitians thought that evil spirits lived in the woods, and especially at night. Okay, so then, let's see. So then, okay. So Paul Gauguin died in 1903, and he lived a life of a lot of contradictions. He went from Peru to France, from wealth to poverty. Most of his life he lived in poverty. He was a family man. He had a nice family in Paris, but he abandoned them. And he had 2 Polynesian wives, and he could be stubborn and rude, but he could also be talkative and friendly, and he helped native Tahitians. The colonizers treated the native Tahitians like second-class citizens on their own island, and so he stood up for the islanders, and he even went to court with them. And so he was a man of a lot of contradictions. So this is, in conclusion, this is his last letter that he wrote. I believe that life has no meaning unless one lives it with determination, at least to the limit of one's power. Virtue, good, evil are nothing but words unless one takes them apart in order to build something with them. They do not gain their true meaning until one knows how to apply them. To surrender oneself to the hands of one's Creator is to cancel oneself out and die. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. That was very informative. I'm going to have to check him out even more. All right. Looks like it is time for our coffee break. During the coffee break, try and introduce yourself to someone you don't know. See the TV over the center doors in the back there for more upcoming events and information. We'll be back here in 20 minutes. 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, folks, welcome back. What's that? Very good. All right, real quick, Peter just wanted to reference from The Wild Thing, A Life of Paul Gauguin by Sue, how do you say that, Prideaux? Prida. This is where he got a lot of his information. He just wanted to make sure that he gave credit where credit was due. All right, let's welcome Heath back for another song. Hey, and Heath, can you tell us about any upcoming events where we can find you again?
Absolutely. My next event is on May 26th. Starting a little folk showcase.
June 26th.
Time is passing quickly.
Yes. Yeah. And where's that at again?
I'm doing a folk showcase. It's called the Good Folks Showcase, and it's just some local friends of mine, other folk artists who I really love, and so it's going to be a good time.
Where's that at again?
It's at Inglewood Arts.
Wood Arts.
This next Friday.
Okay, very good.
Friday.
Very good. All right.
I've got a brand new one that I have not played out before, so we're going to give that one a run today. This is about what I believe is an underappreciated group of people. She wakes up about 5 a.m. to get to the job before the sun's shining. Grease on her pants, sweat on her brow. A blue-collar woman what makes my world go round. She shines like stainless, and she's tough as steel. When she whispers my name, I love the way it feels. Grease on her pants and sweat on her brow. A blue-collar woman what makes my world go round. A blue-collar woman, a blue-collar woman, a blue-collar woman what makes my world go round. All the men sweat bullets are down at the side, 'cause she does twice the work, and half of the time some men feel small and they cower low. But blue-collar woman is the best I know. Some men feel small and they gripe and whine, but blue-collar woman toes the line. The grease on her pants and sweat on her brow. A blue-collar woman what makes my world go round. Blue-collar woman, a blue-collar woman, a blue-collar woman what makes my world go round. To want a perfumed mama from the country club, 'cause blue-collar woman treats me so good. Cover models might turn heads, but blue-collar woman makes my cheeks turn red. She's the only one for me. The blue-collar woman makes my old heart bleed. Grease on her pants and sweat on her brow. A blue-collar woman what makes my world go round. A blue-collar woman, a blue-collar woman what makes my world go round. She's got an edge, and the edge is sharp. You want my advice, you better not get smart. Grease on her pants and sweat on her brow. A blue-collar woman what makes my world go round. morning comes, she drives to my place. We climb up a scaffold and we gaze into space. Blue-collar woman, a blue-collar woman. I love my blue-collar woman. She makes my world go round. A blue-collar woman, a blue-collar woman, a blue-collar woman will make the world go round.
Thank you again for that. That's great. All right. Now it's time for our main speaker. Please note that our program is designed to generate conversation and engage our powers of reason, not as a forum to start debates. The following presentation has been prepared by our speaker and not by Kansas City Oasis. Please respect the views of our speaker, and if you have any questions, a question and answer portion will follow as time permits. All right. So today's speaker, Duncan Payne, is a musician, athlete, and academic who recently received his master's degree in Dublin studying cognitive science, a discipline straddling the line between neuroscience, philosophy, psychology, and computer science. Duncan's work engages questions of nature, of consciousness, individuality, and subjectivity, social neuroscience, and the relationship of the brain, mind to the body. Please welcome today Duncan Payne.
Hello, hello. Can everyone hear me? All right, big round of applause for Heath, please. Great job, Heath. And thank you for the introduction. My name is Duncan, as you have just heard. I studied in Dublin over the past year, where I received my master's degree in cognitive science, specifically on topics in consciousness, individuality, and social neuroscience. So I want to talk to you today about how these ideas bear some relevance to a condition we find ourselves in called the post-truth condition, which I'm sure you all are familiar enough with. The term grew in prominence around 2016 with the election of Donald Trump for obvious reasons, and it has become so noticeable that in 2016, the Oxford Dictionary named post-truth their word of the year. So this has been talked about from a number of angles pretty exhaustively, but I want to narrow in on three facets of this condition that I think are worth thinking about. The first is a complete lack of faith in any of our public authorities and a lack of consensus on who we should look to for this authority. The Pew Research Center showed in 2025 that only about 15% of Americans have faith in Washington to do what is right most of the time, and I think that number might actually be a little bit high. In 1958, that same figure was 73%. In the 60s and 70s, with the Vietnam War and Watergate scandal, trust in the government began to decline before a brief surge of confidence in the 80s and 90s. But after the unfortunate attacks on September 11th and the following Patriot Act, decline in public faith continued and has never recovered since the financial crash of 2007. We can see from this chart that the number of Americans who trust the government very little to not at all is soon to eclipse the number of Americans who trust the government a great deal. And this is all happening at the same time that we're well aware of the fact that many foreign governments are undergoing enormous propaganda measures. The Russian government openly admits to the fact that in 2026 they allocated nearly $2 billion to their propaganda networks. This is primarily on public television, but extends also into social media. The United States government is well aware that the people of China are doing the same. This is also true of the Iranian government, the Israeli government, Saudi Arabia, and we would be naive to think our government is not doing the same thing. So we have lack of faith in any of our central authorities, and at the same time, we're well aware of the fact that the media landscape is heavily politicized, manipulated, and full of bad faith actors. Which leads us to the second facet of this condition, which is that given any lack of central authority, there are a proliferation of niche narratives over any collective consensus. There's personal and unorthodox interpretations of events and policies that are driving people away from each other. And we don't have to look through the internet too much before we find plenty of articles about this. For example, from UCLA, we see unshared reality and contempt across the political divide. Another paper reads The Collapse of Shared Reality, Why We No Longer Agree on What's Real. And I want you to look at the first couple lines here. It's no longer just that people disagree on politics, but increasingly they disagree on the nature of reality itself. One person watches video footage and sees criminality. Another watches the same clip and sees justified action. Excuse me. So this is a problem that's been commented on at length. We see a couple more papers here echoing the same ideas. There's been a collapse in any sense of shared reality. Which brings us to the third facet of this condition, which is that given that there is such a proliferation of differing worldviews, all of these political events become battlegrounds for ideologies and stages on which we are expected to enforce our identity rather than coming to any kind of collective agreement. Stephen Hawkins led a report called the Hidden Tribes Analysis of America's Polarized Landscape. This came out, I want to say, about 10 years ago now. And it's a deep dive into this exact problem. You can see the text I've highlighted here. In the era of social media and partisan news outlets, America's differences have become dangerously tribal, fueled by a culture of outrage and taking offense. For the combatants, the other side can no longer be tolerated, and no price is too high to defeat them. These tensions are poisoning personal relationships, consuming our politics, and putting our democracy in peril. Once a country has become tribalized, debates about contested issues, from immigration and trade to economic management, climate change, and national security, become shaped by larger tribal identities, and policy debate gives way to these conflicts. So in this report, Stephen Hawkins and his team identified 7 segments of American tribes, that they call them, which have dramatically different worldviews and beliefs, which makes it difficult for any of them to come together and see eye to eye. This report, I do believe, is worth spending the time to read if you're interested in these ideas, but it's long. I don't have time to get into all of it right now. So this is a condition we're all well aware of. We live in it. We know it. And we have to ask what led to this, because it seems rather irrational to judge each other based on our beliefs in this way when we know that we have very little confidence in any of the things that we claim to believe. So there are certainly many conflicting factors that contribute to this condition, but I'm going to suggest that one of them is the philosophy and science we have brought to the table to understand ourself and our beliefs. So from the following paper, Revealing the Cognitive Neuroscience of Belief, we see the following. Beliefs are convictions about what we accept as true. They provide the fundamental framework that we use to understand and engage meaningfully with the world. They also serve important social functions, such as identity, relationships, and group coordination. So the contention here is that beliefs mold meaning, they serve identity, and they serve to bring groups together. I don't think that those are particularly contentious claims, but the second line, the idea that beliefs provide the fundamental framework that we use to understand the world, I think we can definitely take issue with. I can think plenty of times in my life where I have engaged very meaningfully with people who had dramatically different beliefs, and I think there were far more important factors to allowing that engagement than our beliefs. So we will come back to this later, but first I want to talk to you about predictive processing theory. This is one of the most prominent models of the brain currently in use. And from this paper, Representing the Self in Predictive Processing, we get the following. Who do you think you are? Or less confrontationally, what ingredients go into the model of yourself? And the ingredients that they suggest are memories, desires, and of course, beliefs. At the core of predictive processing is the notion that the brain is in the business of making predictions about the world, and that the brain is primarily an organ that functions to minimize prediction error. So from this perspective, what the brain is a little computer that's running a program in your head. And what it serves to do is make predictions about the world. So we have to ask ourselves, based on what do we make predictions? And certainly beliefs are part of that. So if what the brain is a prediction machine, and what we make predictions on is our beliefs. then we certainly have to conclude that the self is highly influenced by these beliefs, if not identical with them. Now, another point of predictive processing I want you to keep in mind over the rest of the discussion is what I've highlighted here. Predictive processing holds that the mind is inferentially secluded from the environment. The body also forms part of the environment. And what they're telling you here is that whatever your mind is, it is entirely separate from the world and the body. What's happening in the world and in the body does not really have any relevance to what's happening in your brain, and what your mind is entirely closed within the brain. And you can see this idea within our culture at large with, think of the movie The Matrix. The idea that if you're plugged into a machine that stimulates your brain in the right way, you will have no understanding that anything is amiss. So to summarize, predictive processing tells us that the brain is a prediction machine, that the mind is detached from the world, and that our self is a bundle of beliefs or convictions about what is true, at least in part. There, of course, are other ingredients to the self according to this theory, but beliefs certainly play a key role. So this all begs the question then, in our uncertain times, when we don't know what is true and we have no confidence in our beliefs, what does that say about us, and who are we when we don't know what to believe? So before I get to that, you need to know a little bit of history. This idea of the self as isolated from the world and held up in the head does not come from nowhere, and most people trace it back to the early modern era. In the 16 and 1700s, in Europe, the authority of the Catholic Church is in decline. A growth of Protestantism and secular science is emerging. And due to these cultural changes and the prefigurations of humanistic liberalism that will come after this, a new philosophy of mind is called for. Many questions of the mind, or they would call it the soul back then, was under the authority of the Catholic Church. Physical science had a pretty prominent place in European culture, but things that we would today call psychology all fell within the purview of the church. And this was no longer satisfactory for Europe, and certainly is not satisfactory for us now. So the person who kicked this process off was a man named René Descartes, who was born in 1596 in France. He's often considered to be the father of modern philosophy and the first philosopher of mind. And if you want to understand his project, you do have to understand some of his motivations. With the collapse of the church, central authority on how you were supposed to see the world, your worldview, there was no longer a church that you could look to for that. And Descartes was very concerned with a perennial question, which is, how do we know what is true? And this is still not a question that we have precise answers for. People still ask this question. But Descartes wanted to find a way to secure scientific knowledge away from the church and give us a firm basis for understanding the world. And to this end, he published the Discourse on the Method in 1637. And in this book, the famous phrase, "I think, therefore I am," appears for the first time. And from the publication of this text up until today, this will remain the basis for how we understand ourselves. We are because we think. So, towards the end of securing a foundation for scientific knowledge, Descartes gave us the following thought experiment, which has come to be known as the evil genius thought experiment, and it's rather simple. If you've ever had a dream that you thought was real and then you woke up and it turned out none of it was real, then you already have experienced this. You have nothing that proves to you that the world you're in right now is not a dream. Fundamentally, there's nothing that gives us surety about anything that we see. So Descartes begins with an absolute skepticism and says that we can't be certain of anything around us because it could all just be a dream, and ultimately he is correct about that, but the significance of that can certainly be questioned. But still, Descartes found that there was one thing that was absolutely certain, and that is that if he is having these doubts and if he is thinking about the world, then he most certainly exists. For Descartes, then, the self is thought. It's detached from the senses, which are uncertain, and it's a rational process that either accepts or refuses beliefs based on what is likely from the imperfect knowledge of our senses. And we can see how this is not identical with predictive processing theory, but it shares many key features. After Descartes, a long tradition followed that we know as the Enlightenment, figures like Locke, Hume, Rousseau, and then finally Immanuel Kant. And this Enlightenment philosophy stood on two primary pillars, these being rationality and individuality. Rationality in this context is understood as the logical operation of a detached Cartesian mind. And individuality is the result of that process. We are free to be individuals and choose for ourselves insofar as we are rational. This brings us to Kant. I think that Kant summarizes the ethic of the Enlightenment quite well in this following quote. He tells us that enlightenment is man's emergence from his self-imposed immaturity, and that immaturity is the inability to use one's understanding without guidance from another. So the ethical good of the Enlightenment is to become a free-thinking individual, meaning that communal reasoning might be a useful comfort, but more likely it is a communal delusion. And then Kant spends a great deal of time trying to think about how this individual functions. And the philosophy of Kant is notoriously complicated. I'm giving you the spark notes of the spark notes right here because people spend years and years studying Kant. Don't think that this is in any way exhaustive of his philosophy. But he takes the Cartesian model that the mind is fundamentally closed off from the world and then asks how it actually operates if that is the case. And he tells us that the thing in itself, objects as they actually are unreachable, but that the mind molds reality into a shape that we can understand, and modern neuroscience largely agrees on this point. For example, on the right, you see Anil Seth, a very prominent neuroscientist, giving a TED Talk about how the brain hallucinates reality and how everything we experience is something of a controlled imagination. So there are significant differences between modern neuroscience and the way that these Enlightenment philosophies worked, but they share many fundamental features. And if you're unconvinced about that, there is an enormous amount of scholarship discussing exactly this connection. For example, we see the influence of Kant's philosophy on the advancement of neuroscience and the Kantian brain concept. And then most clearly, the predictive processing paradigm has roots in Kant. So this idea that we generally have of ourselves as a pure individual closed up in our brain is not just the objective scientific truth. It has been passed down to us from older philosophies, and we have every reason to take issue with those philosophies. There are emerging alternative views of the mind that would suggest that consciousness is fundamentally a relationship prior to being an individual. And this seems very counterintuitive. It goes in the face of all of our common sense. But it's not without precedent over the entire world. For example, in African philosophies of Ubuntu, we get the idea that a person is a person through many persons, and that you only become fully human by actually participating in a social group. We see similar ideas in Buddhism, which has exerted an enormous influence on Western neuroscience. And in Buddhism, it's understood that consciousness only exists as a relationship to an object of thought. If there is nothing to think about, then there is no consciousness. There are similar ideas in Indian and Tibetan philosophies, as well as philosophies of Aboriginal Australians. This all seems very exotic, very foreign to Western science, but we don't actually have to go that far back in time before we see the same idea in Western philosophy. At least since Augustine, the Catholic Trinity has been understood as a model for the human mind, and it fundamentally is the idea that any individual is a set of relationships rather than purely an individual. So this is not a change that's only happening in philosophy of mind or neuroscience. This is also taking place in physics and in biology. On the left, we see that the quantum world reveals reality is made of relations and not objects. And on the right, we see that organisms function more like improvising musicians than they do like machines. This is the change that's taking place over the entirety of Western academia, especially in neuroscience. Relational neuroscience, for example, is a model that is trying to study what the brain does in relationship, which is fundamentally different from what the brain does in isolation. Studies in empathy have shown this very clearly. When two brains work in concert, they do something very different than whenever a brain works by itself, and the reason for this may be because consciousness is fundamentally a relationship. We can see further in interpersonal neurobiology. Scientific support has been offered for the position that the mind is relational and embodied, against Descartes, who told us that it's individual and disembodied. One final person I want to talk to you about is Hannah de Jager. She is a social scientist who has been putting forward a model for social cognition called participatory sense-making. And from this perspective, groups come together and form a common understanding of the world, not because they share beliefs, but because they participate in the same systems of life. They live together, they play the same music, they go to the same places, they eat the same food, they live the same life, and that lets them understand each other. It really has nothing to do with our beliefs. So many people have talked about these kind of ideas. I think that de Jager is particularly important for her use of this idea of participation. So the notion of computation, thinking of the brain as though it is a computer, makes perfect sense if we are considering the mind in isolation. Then thinking about ourselves as a computer works. But whenever we're trying to make sense of how it is that we are social beings, it is not so simple as discussing our mind as though it is a computer, and new metaphors are necessary to improve this conversation. And the idea of participation is one that has come up many times, and for good reason, because it enjoys a very long philosophical history. This idea of participation as a philosophical term came into use with Plato 2,500 years ago. And through the majority of European philosophy, the notion of participation was the primary mechanism by which they explained what the mind was. It wasn't until after Descartes that we started turning to computation. On the right, we see a series of essays called The Participatory Turn, which discusses how this idea has been reemerging in many fields of Western academia. So for Plato, this notion was specifically intended to explain how the mind is what it is. For Plato, the mind does not exist in isolation. It is nothing by itself, but it becomes what it is through its participation in things that are greater than itself. The idea has changed somewhat. De Jager uses it in a particularly different way, but there are a couple examples that people like to give to try to make sense of this idea. It's difficult to wrap your head around because it's not linear in the way that computation is. Computation, you start with a stimulus, and then A causes B and B causes C, very simply. From a participatory model, that is not the case. And we can demonstrate this with this little hummingbird here. So you can see that there is a very long trumpet on this flower and that the bird has a very long beak. But if we go back a few million years, the flower is much shorter and the bird has a much shorter beak. But over time, as the bird was able to collect pollen from the flowers with shorter trumpets, he selected for the growth of flowers with longer trumpets so that they could avoid losing their pollen to the bird. And then as the flowers began to grow, so did the bird have to select for a longer beak. So over time, these two organisms mutually shaped each other into what they are because they participated together and lived in a common life. One other idea that's often brought to the table to explain this is musical improvisation, which if you have ever taken part in, you have firsthand experience with the fact that what comes out of an improv is not caused by any one person, but it emerges from the coordination of all of the collective components. It's one shared participation that leads to a common performance. It has nothing, well, not nothing, but it's very difficult to pinpoint which individual is doing what because they all are contributing and mutually shaping each other. And I would suggest that this is a much healthier perspective to bring to the table when we're thinking about our own minds and why our minds are what they are and how we are as people, who we are. Like a musical performance, we are constantly mutually shaping each other and bringing into being the people that we will eventually become. It is an improvisation. It's not a computer program. So I want to conclude just by talking about some benefits of this model, the first of which is a groundedness in the real world. Whenever we're discussing the brain as a computer, it explicitly takes us away from the world because we're stuck in the idea that the brain and the mind are separate from the world. But whenever we discuss a social or participatory model of the mind, we're immediately brought back down into real life where we actually live amongst each other and can act with one another. And because of this, it puts a greater emphasis on actual action over abstract beliefs. Similarly, this calls us to a greater responsibility to our community, because from this perspective, our community is very active in molding who we will become. It's not just a place that we visit from time to time to make friends. It actually is a component in who we as individuals are. And this finally gives us a much more fluid understanding of the self. We no longer have to think about ourselves as a computer program trapped inside of our brain. From this perspective, we are alive and we are active and we are in the world. We're not closed away from it. So that's where I'm going to end, and if anybody has some questions, please feel free.
Thank you. That was great. I have some questions. All right.
Hi. Based on all of these neuroscience studies, do they emphasize a good personal test if you yourself are operating under flawed beliefs?
No, I suppose that's one of the issues, is that the ideas are so prevalent in our culture through the mediums like television. Matrix, for example, is one that I brought you, Ex Machina. There's plenty of cartoons where this idea is everywhere. So it's difficult to even notice whenever you are subscribing to one of these views or the other. And I also want to be clear that both of these ideas, both participation and computation, they're useful metaphors. They're not objective truths. So part of the issue of this model is that it doesn't give us clean and easy solutions, but it calls us to constantly reflect on ourselves and try to take notice of when we are living in these ways.
Talking about, at the beginning of the when you talked about the political divide, I wonder something. Do you think that our current political divide is actually a psychological after effect of the Cold War, as that was not just a battle of economics, but also a battle of psychology and ideology? Do you think that that's some sort of traumatic after effect of some kind?
I think that the situation is so complicated that I wouldn't want to narrow it down to a list of effects, but I think that's definitely one of them, is we know that there is psychological warfare that the U.S. did to Russia and Russia did to the U.S., so I do think we are still living with those effects, yeah.
Duncan, thank you for bringing this to our attention. This is the future of psychology, I think. I don't even know where to begin. Thank you for giving us an entire master's degree here.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I want to add, a colleague and I just wrote a paper, a chapter in a book coming out at Oxford University Press soon on predictive processing as its relationship to religious trauma. So we should talk.
Any other questions?
Anyone else?
Very good. I found this very informing. I took a lot of philosophy in college, so I knew some of what was going on. Thank you again. That's awesome. Very good. All right. In just a moment, this moment, really, I'm going to be passing out some easy-to-do tasks at the volunteer task basket there. Please grab one that you can accomplish today after our meeting concludes. And once you finish the task, just please return that note card to the Done purple box in the lobby near the drink station. All the cleaning supplies you might need are in the white cabinet in the foyer right by the lemonade. We need everyone to help keep this place looking great. Okay, looks like after Oasis, lunch location will be at the Grand Falloon on the plaza. Julie and I are thinking about going. That way we can continue the conversation with each other. There's convenient on-the-street parking throughout the plaza, and there's also several free parking garages within short walking distance to the Grand Falloon. All right. Next week, our featured speaker will be Marcy Renee on Creative Voices of Freedom and the Strawberry Girls. Our musical guest will be Ivory Blue. They're returning. Community moment from Kylie Bush. All right. Heath is coming back to the stage. We want to thank all those who are monthly donors that help keep Kansas City Oasis running. Kansas City Oasis is a 501c3 nonprofit run solely on donations and volunteers. If you like the topics and music today, please consider donating through kansascityoasis.org/donate or by Venmo. Our Venmo info can be found at the merch table in the lobby, as well as cash donations jars. Reoccurring monthly donations through our website are most helpful. All right, please welcome Heath back to the stage, and remember the cash tip jar out there, and Venmo to show your appreciation. Thank you, Heath.
Can we give it up for Duncan one more time, everybody? That was really great. I thought that was really interesting. Friday, if you're free, Good Folk Showcase at Inglewood Arts. We've got a lot of people who have played at Oasis, too. So Martha Sindel, Odd Whitson, Compatti. It's going to be a great lineup. All right, I always like to end on this one, so you guys probably know it. Feel free to sing along. I knew I was in trouble when you looked at me. Could feel it in the air, it was electricity. You got me all messed up, you got me all messed up on you. Well, I like the way that you speak to me. We barely need words, we got telepathy. You got me all messed up, you got me all messed up on you. All messed up, you got me all messed up on you. You got me all messed up, you got me all messed up on you. Well, you made me feel like your long lost friend, staying up late and talking hours on end. You got me all messed up, you got me all messed up on you. Hair was still as we said our goodbyes. We packed up our memories of all our good times. Got me all messed up, you got me all messed up on you. You got me all messed up, you got me all messed up on you. All messed up, you got me all messed up on you. And it's not hard to fall in love, but in the end I always get messed up. You got me all messed up on you. And daylight comes and brings new fears, when just last week I held you near. You got me all messed up on you. Now my brain plays static on channel 10. On 11 I see silhouettes and mannequins. Got me messed up on you. But I'm so glad that we crossed paths. Even though we lost, I can see our glass. You got me all messed up on you. You got me all messed up, you got me all messed up on you. You got me all messed up. You got me all messed up. All messed up on you. Thank you guys for having me back. It's been a lot of fun. All messed up. You got me all messed up. All messed up on you. You got me all messed up. You got me all messed up. All messed up on you.
Woo! All right. Always a pleasure, Heath. All right. Before you head out, take a few minutes to help clean up. We, again, thank this week's presenters, Duncan Payne, Peter Milano, and musician Heath Church. And thank you for being here or tuning in online. We'll see you next week.